And we are recording! Yay! Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Woo! So, hi! Welcome to, whatever we're gonna call this. As of recording this, we do not have a name yet. So, yeah, introduce yourselves.
We have an order, or
Complete silence.
do we have an order, or?
No, we don't. We don't have any
Okay,
order.
Well, I'm WatermelonCaticorn, and she/her pronouns.
I'm Zephina, also she/her pronouns.
Yeah, and I'm assuming everyone watching this knows me. Hi, I'm ZomPod. She, her pronouns. Yeah. So basically, I had an idea, and now we're doing the idea where, because the quarantine sucks, and everyone's bored most of the time, and just for fun, we're just gonna sit down and talk about a topic for however long, and just have fun. So, yay!
Yeah.
So, topic of this video is, what is it like to create content for YouTube and other things? I should have probably worded that better, because by other things I mean, like, it doesn't just have to be YouTube. You could be like just making art and posting it online, or writing, or stuff like that. So
Just generally having an online presence.
Yeah. So, that's our topic. So yeah.
I'm just gonna put this here, which is something that I put in last night to have a little bit. I expanded a little bit on that idea.
Yes. Go right ahead. Who wants to start talking?
Wait, what?
I don't know.
You guys can't tell. We suck at this.
We all suck at having normal human conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can start with talking about YouTube and what it's like for me to create content. Going off of something that we were actually saying before we started recording, I very quickly gained a sub count, and so creating content was actually a lot different for me when I had fewer subs than it is now. Because back then I didn't feel like there was as much pressure on me to get stuff out and to get things done as there is now. And I don't know if you guys feel that or not.
Well, for me, because I have a pretty small sub count, but I kind of put that pressure on myself, even though I don't really have it because of my sub count or anything. I just have it because I just put it on myself.
I mean, same. As any YouTuber will know, we all kind of work for ourselves. And so the whole process, the coming up with ideas, the recording, the getting the videos out, handling when stuff goes up, all falls to us. And I know a lot of YouTubers tend to be workaholics because it's just like, okay, if I'm not working, I'm being lazy, is a lot of the times how we feel.
For me, I know I've had issues with making sure that I'm not, if I'm doing it, I'm not doing it just because I feel like I have to, because I know there's times where it's like, oh, I need to get a video out, or else, you know, it's like I'll be not creating something for a bit, and it's like, oh no, I need to get something out, I need to do something, but then I'll like catch myself be like, hey, no, you don't, this is all for fun, you're not even getting paid for this isn't your job, you don't have to worry about doing it. And I have to catch myself a lot from getting into that mindset, because it's something that I personally do for fun. I'm not doing this as more of a job.
I mean, same really. I went into YouTube with a couple of mentalities that have kind of been my main guide throughout my career in YouTube. Yeah, I make money doing it now, but that was never what I set out to do. Exactly. I actually told myself when I first started this that I wasn't going to do it for the money. I was doing it because I enjoy it, and I live by the fact that the day YouTube stops being fun is the day I stop doing it. And the other thing was, and I feel like this is important for any YouTuber, is when I started, I wanted to make sure that I was the YouTuber that someone like Keemstar could never go after. I didn't want any drama around my channel or anything like that, and so I try to just be positive and respectful to pretty much everyone, and I feel like as long as YouTubers keep that mentality in mind, they're going to be a lot better off.
I agree. Because, like, especially with the communities and stuff because I do animation memes and stuff like that, and in that community there has been so much drama, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Crystalli or Birdie and stuff like that, and it's all just like,
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of drama in that community, but also it's like it's so much fun to do, and it's like, you know, it's a fun thing.
I mean, as is the case with any community, and this doesn't just go for online, this goes for religious groups, cultural groups, whatever.
Yeah.
There are always going to be the extremists who give any community a bad name. And the best thing you can do is just avoid that part of the community and do what you enjoy doing.
Especially when it does come to communities who are very stigmatized for all the extremists. Like, I know because I have an anthropomorphic animal as my avatar. I will probably be associated with the furry community, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's sexual, that's inappropriate, but I don't like that at all. And that's also only a portion of that community as well, because it's not the whole thing. Exactly, but also when I was really into Undertale, because if you go back to my older videos, I had videos about Undertale OCs and all that stuff, because I liked that, and I made characters, and I always had, even though I never really got caught in anything, and I'm lucky that I didn't, but I always had that underlying, like, fear of, oh, someone is going to think that I'm some sort of crazy Sans fangirl, or someone is going to think that I will do all these things because I like this thing, so it's a fear that I have sometimes to be associated with the negative parts of things because of something that I like, or something that I like to draw, or something along those lines.
I sympathize with that. In a recent video, I explained that I tend to like the MLP, My Little Pony Grimdark community, and I was a little bit hesitant to say that because I've seen the hate that a lot of My Little Pony fans get for being a fan of the show, and while I don't think the show is all that much to write home about, I do like the Grimdark community because I enjoy kind of the darker, more horror-based stories, and there just happened to be a lot for that fandom, and I like that community, and I was hesitant to say it because of the stigma that fandom has.
Yeah. No, that's definitely an issue that people have, is saying, hey, I like this thing, and instantly getting associated with the negative parts of the fandom.
Yeah.
I think that could probably go with anything. When I first made my channel, I tried to stick with, like, older, like, not names that could be associated with younger people, and now, like, I fear that, like, Caticorn, that's a unicorn in it, that I'm going to be associated with younger children, and I don't really like that. I don't want that, and I'm worried that, like, people could start associating that.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, in the end, you're probably not, as long as you actually express that. I found through doing this, you're going to be judged more on your personality than your name. And so that's something that I've found, because my name, I've said this in a couple of my videos before, because I never expected to end up gaining a subscriber base, my name is not as original as people think it is. Zephina is based off of Zephos from the Yogscast, and an 11 is a fan of the band Area 11. So I'm basically the female version of Zephos from the Yogscast who is a fan of Area 11. That's my name extended.
Yeah, I know something frustrating with my name, and the ironic part is I made my name before this movie came out, but there's this Disney Channel movie called Zombies, and it's like zombies versus cheerleaders, so there's a big thing like Zoms versus Poms. So something that's been frustrating is every time someone tries to look up my name, it only comes up with stuff like that, and it's like, I'm just sitting here quietly frustrating, just like, but it's too late to change it, because, I mean, it's not too late to change it, I just don't want to change it because I like the name, and even though it was literally just me sitting there like, hey, zombie, zom, what rhymes with zombie, palm, there, that's my name, that's literally all the thought process that went into it, but still, that's been something frustrating that I've had to deal with, is being compared to that because of the name that I've chosen, and it's a really bad movie too, which sucks.
Yeah, I know. For me, I know that one of the main problems I run into with my name is people misspelling it, and even YouTube misspelling it, because whenever I type in Zephina, it asks me if I'm trying to spell Xephina with an S, and I'm like, no, that's not what I want to type.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that one time when I was googling you for the
I notice that all the time.
Yeah. Happens.
I try to make my name as like unique as possible, but still stuff that I enjoy. So like watermelons, I love watermelon. Probably my favorite fruit out there. And caticorn, I loved drawing caticorns and like making stuff out of caticorns. I said the story on my channel. I found a PNG on Google that I used and made and drew different things on it and eventually made a watermelon caticorn. So that was pretty unique.
I like that. I remember seeing that video too.
Everyone has this like epic origin story, like, oh, I based mine off of things I liked. Oh, all that stuff. Me, zombie, and something that rhymes with zombie.
My names have went through a lot of changes. There was Gamer Girl, Cute Pandas, and something else I really can't remember. And I was trying to make it original and like make it me. Gamer Girl was because I wanted to do gaming, but then never ended up doing it. I ended up doing vlogs. So then I changed it to Cute Pandas because I liked pandas, but that never stuck.
Yeah. I know my name used to be That Crazy Nico, and I just recently changed the banner because my channel banner still said That Crazy Nico on it. And that was when I wanted to do Minecraft and stuff still, and I deleted all my old videos, which I'm kind of sad because when I deleted them, I still had them saved to my computer, but now I don't have them saved to my computer, so I just lost all evidence of that.
I know for me that before I started YouTube, I went under a different name, but I've since changed it. But for a long time, my name was Fan of All Trades, like a jack of all trades, but for fandoms. And so that was my name for a very long time, but I eventually did change it before starting YouTube.
Yeah. Like, I don't always use ZomPod for all the online accounts that I use. Like, most of the time, I either have ZomPod or Sounds of the Dead, and both deal with death for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah.
I mean, mine didn't all used to be Xephina. Like, for a while, my Tumblr was Virgil the Dark Strange Sun, but eventually, as I started gaining more followers, I realized it was getting confusing for them to keep up with my social media if it wasn't all reflective of my username on YouTube, so I just decided to change them all, because most of them were already Xephina anyway, so.
Yeah. Most of the time, if I want it to be directly associated with my YouTube, like with my DeviantArt, that's your boy ZomPod, because ZomPod was already taken for some reason. So most of the time, if I want it to be more associated with, hey, you could look this up and possibly find my YouTube, or you could look up my YouTube and possibly find this, I do use the name. But for stuff that I don't really want to directly associate with my YouTube, like Discord, even though I have tried to make a server before, which just did not work, and stuff like that, I mostly, other than that, I don't really want that direct association with my channel, at least yet, because I am a smaller creator who isn't, very big yet.
I mean, that's fair. I didn't have my Discord associated with my YouTube channel for a long time, but since starting the Prank War audio drama and now the Pain of Assignment audio drama, I have to, because that's the only way for people to get in contact with me. And so it'll be really confusing if it's, oh, I think I'm talking to Xephina. Wait, what's this name? Fan of All Trades. Where's Xephina?
Yeah.
It's me.
Hey, Discord started out like not even close to my YouTube name. It was Panic at the Everywhere, based on Virgil because he's my favorite side. And eventually I decided, hey, I don't want to be Panic at the Everywhere anymore. I want something new. What could I do? So I just decided to make it my YouTube name to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I remember when you were Panic at the Everywhere, because at first you messaged me and I didn't know who you were. And eventually you told me your name and I'm like, oh, okay.
I had that because when I joined Discord, I joined a big group for Sanderside, so I decided I wanted to do something with Sanderside.
Fair enough.
At this point, most of the time, if I have a different name in a server, I just change the server nickname because I figured out how to do that. So, you might be in one server with me in it, it might be under ZomPod, but in another server, it might be under Princey, because that's a thing in one of the servers that I'm in. So it's like, I just have a bunch of different nicknames, reason I don't change my account name that much anymore.
That's pretty much what I do too.
Yeah.
Ironically, in the servers where I need to be known as Zephina are the ones where I don't generally have my actual name. I end up going by some sort of a nickname.
So you brought up before how you had to change your Discord name to do the Pain of Assignment and Prank War. Do you want to explain that a bit more? Or
how do you mean?
Like the process of coming up with this, getting everything set up and making sure that you can create it.
For Prank War, which was obviously the first series I did, initially it was not supposed to be an audio drama. Shocking, I know. It was just going to go up on my writing platforms as per usual, but as I started writing it and figuring out that there was going to be time differences between the different parts and it was going to be very weirdly formatted, I decided that I had been thinking about doing an audio drama for a while, but I finally decided that that would be the story to turn into an audio drama because of its weird format. It's more like a script than it is a narrative.
Yeah.
And that's how I decided I wanted to turn that story into an audio drama. Once I did that, and again, I'm a part of the MLP community, so I'd seen their audio dramas and kind of listened and paid more attention to the intricacies of how they work. But at the same time, when I did the audition process and I got the cast, I realized, what am I doing? And I actually learned more from watching those blooper reels of the people that I watched than actually watching their story.
I try to do content on what I enjoy and what I'm inspired to do. I don't want to start doing something and then not be inspired to do that anymore and then continue to do it and just be upset with the product. I try to do what I'm excited with. So that's why I usually end up with 5 or 6 different ideas all at once and things get posted as I finish them. I don't try to make things that I don't enjoy. I try to keep everything new. I don't want to do the same thing over and over because when I first started, I started only doing Misunderstood and that was just part after part, and then by the I think 3rd part, I started not enjoying it as much because I was posting every day the same story. So I started branching out, doing different drawing videos, different videos with my new OCs that I'm making slowly.
I know for me that one thing that I've never done is say that, well, I did do it with Prank War and then completely fell behind on it, but I've never really had a posting schedule. Because of what you said, Watermelon, I want to do stuff as I want to do it. And while I try to upload about twice a week, if I don't, it's not the end of the world because nobody expects me to post twice a week because I've never said it on my channel. So,
for me, it's mostly just, if I have time, what I'll do is I'll make a bunch of videos and then upload them within the span of a month. So there's months at a time where I'm just uploading a bunch of stuff. And then I'll go and disappear for a little bit and then I'll come back with a bunch of stuff. Recently I've been working on more things other than just speed paints. I've been trying to work on more scripted content. I've been kind of behind the scenes planning a little something. Surprise, and I've been working on animatics, working on animation, stuff like that, because that's what I wanted my channel to be. I wanted it to be about doing animation, doing animatics, but especially with all the time that we have now because of the virus, I've been trying to work on that a bit more, and I'm excited because I'm almost done with one of the things that I've been working on for a while, and even though I don't think it looks good, who knows, someone might think it's the most beautiful thing in the world, which I doubt so, but, high hopes.
I mean, everyone is their own worst critic, and going back to what you said a moment ago, I know that with my channel, as of me starting to edit Prank War Part 5, it feels like I've just been going non-stop because I've been having idea after idea of things to do for my channel. But at the same time, there are times when I'm just like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to post another speed paint. My voice is shot, so I can't do a cover and stuff like that. But at the same time, sometimes when it comes to the covers, the ones that I think are the worst are the ones that go over the best. Like, everyone seems to love them. But the ones that I like, nobody watches. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I remember one of my most viewed videos, because I checked that the other day, and one of my most viewed videos is a really old and cringy video that I did. And it's like, how do people watch this? So, yeah.
Unsurprisingly, my most viewed videos are the prank war episodes.
Yeah.
That is, I wonder, other than those 5, what are the others? Because I know that
streams.
YouTube Studio shows the top 10.
That's what
my
I'd
analytics?
guess. That's where I'd put my bets. Either
Pretty much.
the Minecraft streams or the cast calls.
One thing that shocked me the most with like my view count is when I first started posting Misunderstood, I deleted every video that was before that. And what would happen was part 2 would get more views than part 1. And I'd be like, are people watching this out of order or what? And it was very confusing.
Well, I mean, in order of the prank war parts of how much they've been watched, part 2 is the most popular, part 1 is the second most, then it's part 3, part 4, and part 5, but for some reason part 1 is second place and part 2 is first, and I don't understand that at all.
That doesn't make any sense.
Apparently, my reaction to dealing with intrusive thoughts is my next most popular video, which I guess makes sense considering it was noticed by Thomas, so.
Oh, that's neat.
How is my 100 sub special the next most popular video? Christ.
Crazy. But I feel like a problem that I know I've had is having so many ideas but not having the resources or the help that you need to do them. Like, for the longest time I've been wanting to do a podcast like this, and I've been like terrified to say anything to people or just to like do it, and like, you know, and there's times where it's like, oh, I had an idea for it animated, or air quote animated, more so an animatic series to do, but I would need help and assistance to do that, but I don't feel like I'm at a place in my channel to be like, hey, casting call, if you want to help me with this thing that I'm passionate about, help me. I don't think I'm at a place yet to do that, so that's a problem that I've been having. So like, I'm just kind of sitting here planning everything out, making sure I can get everything in perfection, as close to perfection as I can, so once I finally feel like I am at that point, I can be like, hey, who wants to help me with this?
I'll say this much, it's hard to get to that point where you feel like you have those resources, because I know even now I struggle to be like, hey, does someone want to help make an animatic of the beginning of this thing? Because it's hard to just go out there and be like, hey, can you help me with this thing, when you know you're not going to pay them, and it's just, they're volunteering to do it, is one of the things. And when that happens, when people are volunteering to help you, it's like, you can't shut them down and say, no, I want it this way, because you're not paying them. And so that's something I run into a lot with my audio dramas.
But I've been working on a thing with another YouTuber, and this is fully animated. It's not like an audio drama where it's just like a few pictures with audio. It's like fully animated, and the person working on it is doing literally all the animation by themselves. So there's been multiple times where I've like DM'd them like, hey, do you mind if I help you? Like, oh, if you need help, I want to help you, because as an animator myself, I know how hard that is to do, and like, the character that I'm voice acting for doesn't come until a little bit later, and even then it's just recording the lines, and it's like, I have time, I can help you if you need it. So it's been just kind of like, I have that need and want to help them, but they don't need it in a way, so it's just kind of like, I don't want you to get burnt out. That is not a good thing. So that's been something I've been dealing with too.
I've never successfully animated anything, and I know how hard it is because I've tried. I really have tried.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I can't sanction drawing the same thing over and over and over to do an animation. Kudos to people who can. I don't have that kind of patience.
A weird thing with animation, for me at least, is it's really hard for me to do the more subtle movements, which you'd think that, like, subtler the movement is, the less movement there actually is, the easier it would be. but in reality, that is like the hardest part for me, at least, to do, because I can do
Well,
like
wouldn't
someone's.
that require more frames to do because it's so subtle and so like swift
Not
that it would have to have more
necessarily.
frames?
It depends on what your FPS is, frames per second is, and all that. Animation is really fun, in my opinion. Well, fun is in how art drawing is fun, and I don't see it that much different. Like, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I tween because it's easier for me, but for me, I've tried tweening, I cannot make it look natural, I have to do frame by frame. So most of the animations that I've put, unless it's just like a small movement, most of the animations that I do are frame by frame, even though I am doing it on a computer, which does make some things easier. I mostly do frame by frame animation.
I mean, I'll say this again. Kudos to anyone who can animate, because I have tried in the past, and I still want to try to do it again, but I just get so, I don't know what the word is, I guess impatient with drawing the same thing over and over.
Well,
and
something that I have to do is I have to pace myself. Like, I know that
that's fair.
I know, especially because I have very bad posture and I hunch over and do that. So most of the time what I'll do is I'll like sit down, I'll be like, okay, I'll just animate, and once I start feeling uncomfortable, or once I lose motivation, or once I don't feel that, I don't know what it is, like motivation, or don't feel the inspiration to do that, I'm not gonna do anymore. And it's been hard because that means I don't get as much done as I would like to, but it turns out a lot better because I have older animations that I did with no motivation or it's like inspiration or any of that, and they just look terrible. So you like, that's something important, is to make sure that you are you have that drive to do it, because if you don't, it's not going to turn out good at all.
Yeah, sadly, I think one of the reasons that I don't like animating now is because way back when I did the Moonrise's Lullaby for a Prince animatic, I did all of that in the span of like a month, and I just sat down and that's all I did for that entire month. And I didn't have a graphics tablet then. I had the Intuos Wacom drawing tablet thing, and it was just so monotonous, and I was forcing myself to do it that now it's left a bad taste in my mouth, and I've been trying to attempt to animate again now that I have the graphics tablet and a better understanding of how to pace myself. But I can't force myself to pick up my pen.
It's the same thing with like how a lot of people say they don't like reading because at school they like were forced to read so much. It's the same thing. If you sit down and force yourself to animate, you're not gonna enjoy it as much. And it's the same thing with even art. Like, I know there's times where I'll be like, oh, I need to get something out, which I don't do as much. Watermelon, are you talking? Because no sound is coming through.
No. I'm just very quiet.
I feel like we're just talking over you, and I feel bad.
Yeah,
No, I'll just be really quiet. I'm trying to think of good things to bring up, but my brain is slow, so.
That's fine. Take your time. Anyway, because, and even though I don't do this as much anymore, there's been times where it's like, oh, I need to get at least something out, I'm gonna just record a quick speed paint, and I'll record it in the art, and it is very bad, but it's because I was forcing myself. So, when it comes to making videos, making writing, making anything, you have to kind of see it like, and this is the way that I see it, you have to see it like this is you doing work at school. If you do this too much, you're not going to want to do it anymore. At least that's how the best way I can compare it to from what a lot of people tell me about reading.
One thing I found for me was that I wouldn't notice when I'm forcing myself to do stuff, because when I was in school, I would be working on drawings for videos, and I'd be working, and then my teacher would literally sometimes come over and be like, hey, you gotta put that away now. And I wouldn't have noticed that I went over time, or that I'm still forcing myself to work on it, because I was in a mindset of, okay, I need this done by the end of the day, but I didn't notice that I was in that mindset.
I can sympathize with that.
Yeah. I know, like, it's taken me forever to draw sprites because it's So it's a tedious thing to do because you're drawing a character in a similar position, but they're slightly different. Like, you know,
That's
expressions.
such a mood. I have tried to draw more than like 3 sprites for Zephina. And
Yeah.
I just, after the 3rd one, I'm like, I'm so sick of this character. I don't want to draw her anymore.
The way that I managed to do it is, one day I just sat down and I did all the sketches. I took a break by drawing something else. Then I came back and I drew all the line art. Then I went and did something else, and then I came back and then I did all the coloring and shading, and then they were done.
For me, however, and I have no idea how this happens, but for some reason, when I try to draw the sprites for Zephina, every single time the art style changes between the sprites. I'm like, how did this happen?
That is something that's happened. A way that I've kind of got around that is, the way that I did my sprites is I had like 3 to 4 main expressions that would probably be used most often. Like putting more effort into those, and then having a few that are more so kind of funny, or more so like you don't like, they're not really that important to be like one that's just kind of confusion, one that like sort of goofier emotions or sillier things, putting a tidbit less effort into it, or purposely making it look kind of bad. That helped with, because even though it is a shortcut, and I know people will be like, oh, you're just making a shortcut to be lazy, but you sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes it is too much. You have to be lazy sometimes, especially when it comes to stuff like this.
It's to people who think it's lazy. Try sitting down and drawing a fully colored, fully, fleshed out drawing of someone 4 or 5 times back to back to back to back to back. You are going to get sick of it. And it's just like, if you want to have 10 expressions for your character, it can be a pain if you're trying to do this back to back, and you have to take shortcuts sometimes to save your own sanity.
Yeah. Like, and for drawing sprites, the best thing I could say to do is to have very general expressions. Angry, sad, happy, neutral, and then a few other goofier ones just for fun. And then, bam. That's it.
Yeah, I know for me, the main problem I run into with doing sprites is a lot of times sprites, not all the time, but a lot of times, they have a more simple art style than, a fully fleshed out speed paint would have. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to dial back my style to do a sprite in a simpler art style. Like, some people will have a chibi sprite. I can't draw a chibi. I don't know how to go to that from where I am currently in my art style, and I have no idea how to get there.
Yeah. Well, I have a more cartoony style anyways, so when I drew my sprites, which I haven't been able to use in a video yet, other than like end cards and intros, but I just use my actual style because, again, it's a very simplistic style, but something that I have started doing, because I've been wanting to work on more animations and stuff, but for like more simpler stuff, background characters, I've been practicing drawing in a more simplified version of that, or more of the chibi way, and just like doing little character references, little sketches, and just practicing drawing in a less complex way can help. And like, even if it looks bad at first, it's you have to just take time and practice, because like, it's weird to say, but sometimes it's really hard to draw simplistically.
Yeah, because once you learn these skills to make your art better, it's hard to put yourself back into the mindset of not using them anymore. I know that, and one thing that I've learned from being on YouTube and doing a lot of art is you can learn a lot from watching other people speed paint. Yes. That's how I learn most of the skills, is because I'll think, okay, well, I want to learn how to shade better. So I'll watch some speed paints of artists that I like and go, okay, what are they doing there? What tool are they using? How are they doing that? And then try to implement that into my art when I make it, or line art or whatever. What tool are they using? And repeat that process for each step and slowly get better as I go.
Mhm. No, it's funny because I use the blending option of burning when I do my shading, and a lot of people are like, "Wow, how do you shade so good?" And I tell them, and they don't believe me. Like they're like, "Oh no, that's not what you do," and I'm like, "Yeah, that is what I do." And like, no.
You're not the first person I've heard say that, and I've never quite been able to figure out how to do that. I just use the airbrush tool and blend it.
That's
and
what I do, but then I apply a burn effect. I mean, it changes depending on what program you use, but normally that's like around layers. But it makes it
I mean, I've
pretty
seen
neat.
it, but I've never been able to make it look quite right.
Yeah.
But it's
well, it depends on what base color you use too. Like, I know a lot of people were surprised when I use red to do the shading, but that's because, I mean, it also depends on if it's a living thing or not. But and I actually learned this from another YouTuber. If you use red when you're shading, it makes it look more alive and more warm. Another thing that I recently learned how to do is to apply a slight overlay of like color and stuff to just make it look a bit more like, I don't know what the word is, fancy. I don't know what word I'm looking for.
I mean, I know that I've watched a couple of your speed paints, and one of the things that I really like is the way you add kind of the lighting effects in the backgrounds.
Yeah.
And what program do you use? I keep meaning to ask you that.
I use Fire Alpaca.
Okay. Because I've noticed, like, I've always liked the way you do the lighting, and I use Krita because it's free. And for a free program, it does a lot. But
and I use Krita to animate. It's too complicated for me to draw with.
That's fair. It took me a while to get used to, but then again, I came from Art Rage Light, so anything is better than that, so.
Yeah. But when it comes to shading and doing the lighting and stuff, which I've always felt like I don't do enough for my backgrounds, because most of the time it's just simple halftones or colors and stuff, and it's like, I want to get better at drawing backgrounds, like actual backgrounds, but I'm not that good. But when it comes to doing like the spotlight little thing that I do sometimes, it's mostly just using hard blending options. Like, that's the best advice I can give to anyone who's like, ooh, how do you do shading and lighting so well? It's like, you just use the blending options and you just mess around with it and see what you like, what you think looks best.
Yeah.
And
I mean, a lot of art is trial and error.
Yeah. Like, I know I have a few drawings, and it's like the same drawing with, like, I just did a drawing and then I just played around with a butt ton of the blending options just to see which one I liked best, and I found some really neat effects that I could do in the future if I want to do, like a glitch effect, or if I want to do stuff like that, and it's just been, like, you just need to let yourself play around with it sometimes, and that's how I was able to come up with how I do art today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case with pretty much anything. I know that it was messing around with different things, and this also goes for when you have upgrade or whatever to different equipment.
Oh yeah,
that you have to mess around, or else you're not going to figure out how to use it, because it was a major leap going from just drawing with pencil and paper to using the Intuos, where I couldn't look at my hand to draw, and I was like, what am I doing? But then going to the Huion graphics tablet that I have now, it was another jump going back to having my drawing right under my hand and not, and you'll see this in my speed paints, I don't have to draw the lines super fast anymore, and I'm not used to that. And so it's interesting, the different techniques I've had to pick up since getting different equipment.
I know something that was kind of jarring is, in my very early speed paints, I had a tablet where you couldn't look at your hand, you had to look at the screen, but that messed up because it was a really cheap Huion tablet, and it like, a lot.
I think I know which one you're talking
especially
about.
the specific one that I have had a lot of backlash, but the backlash only came up to after I bought it, so it ended up breaking and not working correctly. So I had to go back to drawing on my tablet, and there's a few speed paints up where it's I recorded it on my tablet, which is, you know, a touch screen, like small little tablet, and I remember I went from having fancier equipment to having something less advanced, less fancy, to now I have an actual drawing tablet again, and just like noticing the differences. It was hard to adjust back to using something like that, even though I had for so long before. And like I said, recently I've started using Krita to animate. I used to use Flip-a-Clip, which is super basic, which, I mean, I like it. It's a neat program, but it's really simplistic and basic, and that's kind of why I liked it. But now I have Krita, which it took me forever to realize how to use it, and I still mess up on some things, but
One thing, and I don't know if you've figured out how to do this yet or not, but it might help if you haven't, is when it comes to animating in Krita, I love that you can pick and choose which dockers that you have. You don't just have to use the animation layout. You can choose to have the animation docker and the timeline docker, and you can, if you want it, you can have the onion skins docker, or you can take it off, and so on and so forth. Like, you can place everything, and then save the way that you have it set up, so that next time you go to animate and not draw, you can just click back, and it'll come up with all your settings.
Well, like I said, I don't use Krita to draw, I just use it to animate, so I always have it set up for the animation thing.
I don't really do animations, and when I did want to start an animation, it didn't go well. And when I started doing animations, I made a couple really bad ones that were simple and just little things. I made a ball, I made a firework, I think I made a person at one point, but like that it didn't work, because when I like sat down and wanted to start doing an actual animation for my channel, it just didn't work, and I drew the head, and then I gave up.
When you're doing animation, for like, at least what I did, you just need to watch a butt ton of like tutorials and stuff. Like, that's how I learned to draw. That's like, I've never been to a professional drawing class. The only time I've been to an art class once, and I hated it, because literally the way that the teacher was teaching us how to draw was, she would be like, okay, look up people on YouTube and trace their art, and that's like, you don't do that. No,
you don't do that. That's art theft. No.
Yeah. Well,
God.
Like, you can trace real life images and stuff too, but she like literally was teaching these, like, and I was in a class with mostly younger people. She was teaching these like little kids to copy art and do that, which there's a difference between doing that just to learn it, just to like practice, but she was like encouraging them and saying, oh, this is now your original art thing, and that's like, no, that's not. No.
That work.
So
I know for one thing that I try to do is with animation, when I was trying to do it, is I would use reference, which is I would videotape myself doing the motion I wanted my character to do. And then I would watch the video back in super slow motion to see, okay, this is how the arm bent, and this is what my neck did, and whatever, so that I can kind of be like, okay, this is where it needs to go, I think, so that my arms don't go floating off into the void.
Well, I know for a few animations where I lip sync, what I'll do is I'll literally just like slowly say the words and see how my mouth moves. Which, there's like charts and stuff. I know when I've animated a walk cycle for another animation I'm working on, like, you can just Google references, and there's a difference between referencing and full-on tracing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Use references all you want. Don't trace.
I mean, references are obviously okay, because how many artists have the drawing model? So if you weren't supposed to use references, why would those things exist?
Yeah, ironically, I do have the drawing model, but I just can't use it.
Same, though.
Yeah, it does not work.
Mine just stays in a semi-permanent position with the rest of my art supplies.
The only thing I've ever used it for was to do stop motion, which I've been wanting to do that again, now that I have so much free time, just to start doing stop motion again. Which, that's something that I've always found interesting, is that a lot of people, and I think I've said this in a video once about like Gacha Life or something, a lot of people like to use the excuse, oh, I can't draw, so I can't animate, or oh, all the animation programs are super hard. It's like, there is so many different ways to animate that a lot of people just don't take into consideration. Like, stop motion, you literally just need to take a bunch of pictures and edit them together. It's really not, it's hard getting the movements to look right, but it's not hard as far as like materials you'll need and stuff, or like even the anime, what's it called? The anime app that people use to animate, where it's, you move the parts bit by bit.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know
you know what I'm talking about. I think MMD or something. I don't
Mhm.
know. That you could try to do 3D animation and build off of pre-existing models just to practice. Like, there's so many, like, people instantly, at least as far as in art communities and stuff, or even gacha tubers, like, and people just try to use, oh, I can't draw as an excuse. There's people who use Gacha Life to actually animate it. I've made an entire
I've
video
seen
explaining this. Like, there is people who tween with Gacha Life, and they make it look like actual genuine animation, and it's like, you can't just say, oh, I can't draw, and just
And I'll go
there.
ahead and debunk this. I can't draw isn't even an excuse, because
No,
the
it's
thing
not.
is, nobody is born an artist. You are not born. It's not like someone just gifts you with the ability to hold a pencil and draw. No, for everyone who knows how to draw, for the piece of art that you see, there are at least 10 to 20 pieces or more that you never see, because it's a sketch that never sees the light of day because it was an experiment that failed.
I mean, recently I found like a bunch of old drawings, and it's like, I've noticed how far I've come. I used to suck at drawing. And even now I'm not confident. I'll say this till the day I die. I am not good at art. But that is just in my art. But I've improved.
I will say this. Anyone who is attempting to do art without being an art thief, so not tracing, if you are genuinely attempting to draw and attempting to better your skills, your art is good. Because that means that you're trying, and it's actually, you're creating something. And anything you create is going to be good. If someone else didn't share your opinion, tough. Don't listen to them. Surround yourself with people who are going to give you positive feedback.
So yeah, my point is, there's more than just, you don't need super fancy equipment, you don't need super fancy anything to create good content.
There's more than traditional animation.
Yeah. I mean, oh my god, I saw this person, he literally animates food. Like, he just takes cake, slices it, and he makes an animation. Like, anything.
I watched someone who did stop motion of making food, but it was all Legos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that looks so cool. How does that work?
And it's just like, flip books. Just get a stack of paper, draw a little character, a little stick man, grab it a balloon or something. Bam, you animated. Good job.
Congratulations, you are on your way to learning how to do even more art skills.
Yeah. You just need to be able to be like, hey, I know this isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I did it. I managed to draw. I managed to animate. I managed to at least make something out of it.
Having that confidence, and then also the next step is, what can I learn next to make it better? And keep learning, because you're never going to stop learning.
No, and that's the whole point of art, at least in my opinion. It's, you learn how to do something, you do it, and then you build off of it.
And that's not to mention that art is completely subjective.
Yeah.
What someone finds beautiful, someone else may not, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I do want to mention before I go into gacha and all that, is don't look at other people's art and say they're way better than me. Because there was one kid in my class who had amazing art. It was amazing. So I was always look at his and be like, oh my god, I'm so worse. I won't ever be as good as him. And once I left that school, I started being in the mindset of, okay, I can get better. Without comparing yourself, you will get better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't always compare yourself to other people, because that's just putting yourself down, and that's not going to help anyone.
Yeah, I've always felt kind of guilty, because at least as far as when it comes to in classes and stuff, I'm always the person everyone is comparing themselves to, so I always feel really bad. Just like, don't compare yourself to me. I'm not I'm not some sort of magical fancy person who can make art look beautiful, but at the same time, there has been times, because I have such a stylized and cartoony style, where people have been like, that's not realistic, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Sorry, just a little tangent there.
Art is subjective. Draw however you like. As long as you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Woo.
Because, I mean, I know I try to go for more realism, but that's just because that's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that my art is better than anybody else's. I said a minute ago, I suck at the chibi style. I'd like to learn how to do it, but it's going to take practice.
Like, with me, I love shows like Steven Universe, Gravity Falls. I've taken inspiration from cartoons, and that's kind of where my style is at. Now, there has been times where I've had struggles with if I want to try to make my style look more realistic or more cartoony, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out, because there are some times where my art kind of is on a shaky line where I'm trying, like, do I want the anatomy to be, do I want to push the anatomy, make it look more stylized, or do I want it to look more realistic? So I'm kind of at that line right now, and it's been kind of weird. Like, I'm sort of not quite at where anime is, but I'm kind of close, if that makes sense, as far as proportions go.
That's fair.
One thing that I think was a big, I don't know if it's still a thing with Gacha, is that it's lazy and just a way out of doing normal animation.
Yeah.
So, like, when I first started Gacha and I met friends that I have today, I didn't tell them that I did Gacha because I didn't want to look like a lazy person. And then I don't know if it's still a thing today, but I still don't tell everyone that hey, do Gacha.
I'm pretty sure the stigma for that's died down, but it's still definitely there. Honestly, I think the most negative thing that Gacha is associated with is all the NSFW stuff that people have made with it. I think that's still the biggest problem with the community, at least from what I've seen.
The thing is,
Yeah, I agree.
I've noticed, is what Gacha did to eliminate that is they took out things that would do that. So, like, they took out a face thing that could be used for different things, and then they took out some colors of skin tones to make things better and try to eliminate that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Thing is, one thing I've noticed is people tend to edit. They'll take the screenshot and then they'll go into an art program and edit over it back to make that color. And I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah. But that's definitely one of the biggest problems with that community. Again, I've made an entire video talking about Gacha Life, but that is definitely one of the biggest problems with that community is how much people like to do sexual stuff with it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the Gacha community. I feel like I need to say this.
Yeah, same.
I know a lot of people who are in the Gacha community who don't fall into that NSFW, like, bad content rut that a lot of people seem to fall into. And so it can be a great thing if used correctly.
Yeah.
It can also give ideas as well, because I know that a couple of Zephina's design choices came from Gacha Life. I kind of plotted out, well, what would I want her hair to look like, or what would I want her body to look like, or what accessories do I want to give her? And I would look at, okay, well, I'd use Gacha as kind of a base to say, all right, these are the ideas I have, and then expand upon that when I drew her character.
Yeah, that's what I do with, when I'm stuck for a character design. I just go into Gacha and I just kind of mess around and find something. And even though I personally don't like making Gacha Life mini-movies or anything like that, I still use the app quite often just to get a basic character design, or just to be like, hey, this is what I want this character to look like for this thing. Now I'm gonna draw it.
Yeah. I kind of, for a second, just because it doesn't seem like anyone else is having an idea, move away from the topic of animation and maybe go to where ideas for certain videos come from.
Oh, sure.
Because I know for me, different videos come from different places, and sometimes that can depend on the mood I'm in, or what I haven't done in a while, something that's just inspired me. Sometimes I'll just have a stroke of inspiration. I'm like, oh, let me do this thing. And see if it works out on my channel.
Ideas come from me not being able to sleep at 3 a.m.
Mood!
Me too.
That is the one thing that I hate about my mind, is I'm only creative and I can only think when it's at 3 a.m. And, like, it is late and I should be sleeping. Yes.
get possessed by spirits, and they're like, here, have inspiration.
Who just like see me sitting there just like all day, just like I cannot do anything, I cannot think, I cannot, and then they're just like at 3 a.m. like, hey, so we were gonna like possess you and like make you murder
It's the
your
devil's
entire
hour. This
family.
is the only time we can take you over.
We were gonna make you like murder your entire family, but you look upset, so here, have some random ideas.
Draw a door instead.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I know
ironic.
for me, inspiration, because sometimes I feel like I have to fit in with trends. Like, for instance, I did an Inktober speed paint back in October and stuff like that. But if you look at my channel, it's honestly just this it's just this, I'm trying not to curse, this cluster
oh, it's okay.
of...
I can censor it.
Alright, it's just this cluster of just random stuff, because I'll have ideas and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this, or I'm gonna try that. And then, depending on the response it gets, is whether or not I keep doing it. And I might do it for myself in passing if I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it's like, do I want to upload it or things like that? And so, my whole channel is a clusterfuck of just random things.
No, I've made videos that I haven't even uploaded to YouTube, because I was worried, this isn't that good, I mostly just wanted to do it for fun, and I have that, underlying fear of, someone will take it the wrong way, or, something will go wrong, and it's like, no, I don't want that to happen, I don't want to be considered, I don't want to be, misunderstood, I don't want to, have, any stigma against me because of something, so, even though most of the time it wasn't that bad, one of them I made literally 2 to 3 episodes of a Gotcha Life mini-movie once, and I had them as unlisted videos, and I only sent them to, one person that was a friend of mine at the time, and, now they're non-existent. I lost the videos, I deleted them off of YouTube, and it's just, they're gone, but I never uploaded them, or, made them public.
This is something that I know that I do well because I did it before YouTube, but I don't know about you guys. Scripted content for me is easier than unscripted content, because for the longest time, of course, I did writing and narration and stuff like that, so I know that doing scripts for videos is something that comes kind of naturally to me, and I'm just curious, is that something that you guys maybe struggle with?
It depends on what the video is, because I know most of the time, when it comes to doing, announcements or just a small little update on something, I don't want it to sound like I'm a robot, because I know sometimes when I'm reading off a script, I get completely emotionless and just sound kind of dead inside, which is frustrating to deal with when you're trying to talk about something like, hey, I've not really been feeling well, I'm gonna take a small break. So most of the time I won't script for stuff like that, but when it comes to theory videos and stuff like that, I do try to script it, because I do ramble a lot. Even here, this is a very unscripted podcast thing. I have been rambling a lot. Most of it will hopefully get cut out, but
I know I have a tendency to ramble myself, and that's a thing that I struggle to cut out of videos, is the rambling, because I'm like, somewhere in this is the piece of important information that I wanted to say, but I have no idea where it is, and how to separate that from everything else I said.
Yeah. I mean, one time I was recording lines for something, and it was something that I never ended up uploading, but I was recording lines, and literally half of the audio that I recorded was just me making fun of what I was doing, and just being dumb, and only a little chunk of it was the actual lines that I needed.
I mean, sometimes uploading the dumb stuff is fun, because you have to have fun with what you're doing, and so sometimes doing dumb stuff is absolutely some of the best content you can make. But at the same time, there's a time for that, a time and a place for being humorous and being funny with your content versus being serious and actually putting time and effort into what you're doing.
You can't just upload a bunch of you can't just, you can, but you can't do that and expect to get, be taken seriously.
Positive feedback.
Yeah. if you want to be like a creator and you want to be like, hey, I want subscribers, I want to be a creator, like this is a thing that I want, you can't just upload random stuff and do that.
Yeah, there has to be thought in what you do.
Yeah.
And I know for me that a lot of times I'll see people being like, how have you gotten to where you are, and things like that. And part of it is I'll look at their channel and it's clear that they're not doing any editing. And I know editing is a tedious process, but it's got to be done. It's the same thing with anything. You're not just going to sit down and draw a perfect piece of art on your first try. You've got to work at it. You've got to edit it. You've got to go back and redo certain parts. It's the same thing with writing. You're going to have to edit. You're going to have to rewrite. It's not just the initial, okay, I'm going to do this and we're done.
Yeah.
You have to work on it.
I think the reason that is one of my biggest pet peeves is when my channel was still that Crazy Nico, I never edited my videos. So I think like that pet peeve kind of stems from me not liking myself or what I did at the time. But that is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people don't edit their videos at all.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm so meticulous about editing, especially my scripted stuff, that I get so mad at myself when I slip up and leave something in that I didn't mean to. Like in my songs and gifts, Sanderside's reading, a blooper somehow managed to slip past the editing process and make it into the video, and I got so mad at myself when I heard and listened to that back after the video was uploaded. Because I was like, why did I not catch that?
Yeah, that's frustrating. I know one time, with one of my more recent speed paints, I opened Discord by mistake during the video, and so I had to blur it out, but there was a small part that I didn't blur out, and it was only for a second, so I don't think anyone noticed it, but it's still, like, if someone really wanted to, they could have just, like, paused the video at the right time and see it, which it wasn't, like, a personal conversation or anything, so I'm not super stressed, but it was just kind of like one of those moments where I was like, so close.
I sympathize with that, because one thing that I find when I'm doing the streams is I try my hardest not to pull up Discord while I'm streaming, or at least not on the screen that I'm streaming, because odds are if I'm pulling it up, it's because someone's DM'd me, and if you're direct messaging me, you're expecting that message to stay between you and me, and therefore I don't need to share it with my stream. And so I try my hardest not to do that, but every now and again it'll pop open on its own or something like that, and I quickly try to close it as fast as I can, because I'm like, no, I don't want people to know what I'm seeing or what they're saying, which is why I've actually taken to opening Discord on my phone when I'm streaming.
Yeah. Well, it was mostly because, like, halfway through recording the speed paint, I forgot I was actually recording. Which has happened a few times, but most of the time I just cut it out, or it was just in a very slow part. But there has been a few times where, like, especially with harder drawings or longer drawings, I just completely forget I'm recording, and it's just like, oh, I need to cut that out. Didn't mean to do that.
I remember one time, because I was using OBS to record my drawing, I made a stupid mistake, and it was recording the audio of my PC, and I watch Netflix or something while I draw, and I forgot to take the audio out, and I'd already edited in the music, and you just hear this super high pitch of the talking of whatever show I was watching, and I had to immediately take the video down, go back in, edit, and take that audio out, and re-render the entire thing, because I had forgotten to take out the audio, and I was like, I am so dumb. What the heck? How did this happen?
This was, but this is one of the more recent ones. No, not more recent, but I think it was a fan art video that I was doing for one of y'all. But while I was recording, my mom called, and with how she is, I cannot not pick up her call, and I cannot just, because, you know, you can tell if someone purposely hangs up, and so I called her, but I was apparently recording the audio, so I had already sped it up, and this was in the editing, and I just hear the conversation go through very high pitched during the thing, and I'm just sitting there laughing because it was just like, yeah. So I was able to take out the audio before the video got uploaded, but still it was hilarious, like just a funny little bit of thing that happened.
It's like, what the heck is happening?
When I edit, I try to focus on the, I don't know how many videos it was ago, but of me walking downstairs and grabbing the mac and cheese. For that video, I was recording my screen, which is my school computer, and my school computer has my full name on it on many things. So when I was typing, I don't know if you saw, but a black box appeared, and it was because one of the pop-downs that came up was something for school that had my first and last name on it, which I haven't said my last name and don't plan on saying for a long time.
Yeah,
Mood.
oh my
So,
dear.
When I first did it, I did a little black box just covering it. Then I moved my camera on accident, so I had to block it out again. And I just kept making multiple boxes, and then I started to get upset because it kept showing up. So then I just kind of deleted all those boxes and just made a huge box that covered up everything, which I didn't want to do, but I had to end up doing. And then just made it disappear once it was gone. But it was still really annoying having to cover that up, and that I didn't notice it when I was recording.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Jeez.
I know,
Oof.
again, because I record my screen during speed paints, there's been, I think, in a few speed paints, I'll click over to YouTube because it, like, stops playing or something, and I'll just, like, quickly play the song, and I don't bother to edit that out, but I've always kind of, like, wondered if someone's watching the video and it's just, like, judging what I've been listening to, because, like, I'll listen to the weirdest things while I'm doing speed paints.
That's fair. Okay.
So, yeah, the final bit, tips you have for people who want to start a channel.
One thing that I would say is start off, make sure you're doing something you enjoy. Make sure that you're getting into it for the right reasons. Don't go into it for the fame and the money. Do it to, do something that you enjoy and you love doing, and make sure that that continues to be your driving motivation throughout your YouTube career, is that every video you make sure it's something that you want to do, not something that you feel like you have to do.
Watermelon, you have any advice?
I had something, but I forgot it. I'd say find someone you love, and like, I don't know how to explain this. Find a YouTuber you love, and if they do something that you love, do that. Like Zephina was saying, do stuff you love. Don't do stuff for the money. Don't do it for just making everyone happy. When I started, I was doing gacha because I knew everyone liked it. But now I'm doing stuff I love, and it's much better for me. So do stuff you love. Don't force yourself to do anything.
All that I have to say, and this is more so advice that I wish I could give myself when I started a channel, is don't, and this kind of goes with what y'all said, don't do it just because you feel like it will make you popular, at least as far as friend groups go, because that's the whole reason I started it, which, I mean, I'm happy that I did, now I, no, but don't do it just because you think you're gonna get attention, or don't do it just because you think you're gonna, become the cool kid of the group, because that's not what's gonna happen. Do it for fun, do it because you want to, don't do it because you feel like that's the only way you will, be included. I'm using air quotes, you can't see them. So yeah.
Also, one thing that I think is important to note is don't feel like you can't do YouTube because you don't have the right equipment.
Yeah.
You can record on your phone or your tablet and stuff like that and still make good content. A lot of it comes down to software. And there's a lot of really good free software out there that you can use.
No.
And eventually upgrade as you get better.
Yeah. Just go on your phone, apps, the app store that you use on your phone or something. If you want to do art, best free programs I recommend for art if you're doing it on your tablet or phone, use Metabang. If you're doing it on your computer, Fire Alpaca, because the Metabang on the computer isn't the greatest in my opinion. Those are the apps that I'd recommend if you want to get into art. If you're on your tablet, give Clip a try. I know a lot of people say it's really bad, but once it's easy, especially if you're starting out. Give it a try at least. If it's not your cup of tea, I'm pretty sure you can find some other animation software out there. And if you just want to do animation and you're not 100% set on 2D animation, stop motion is a thing. It's fun. I do it occasionally. I've been wanting to do it a bit more and make a actual video using it. So just look into stuff. Have fun.
And if you want to do speed paints and things like that and record your screen, OBS works on pretty much any platform that I've seen, and it's free to use. And for recording audio, Audacity is free and really good for recording audio, because that's some of what I use. Well, this has been Zephina.
At the same time.
Scream my outro. Zephina, out.
I don't have an outro. Bye!
Bye, guys.
Bye!